Every now and then, well, not every now and then, actually, most of the time, I do videos, and I note that there's, I'd say about 80% of the people coming in are generally they're listening. They have their own opinions, kind of pro, con, and different, and those they provide some really good feedback. And then I think there's kind of 10% kind of both directions that come in with a bias. And that bias is, they got somewhere else. Maybe it's their own view of the industry, maybe it's their own unhappiness, but it blocks their ability to kind of look at anything critically, look at anything reasonably. It doesn't really matter what's in the video. It doesn't really matter what anybody says. They have their point of view. So how does that happen? And why in comics? I mean, comics? Hey everybody, this is Perch. I think that it's curious, and you see it all over the place. This isn't just in comics, but it strikes me as a little surprising that it is in comics, and for a very kind of maybe sad reason. I mean, comics, as much as I love them, they've been a huge part of my life, and I can't imagine what the world would be like without comics. It's also not that big. It's not like this massive, life changing industry. To me, comics are entertainment, they're enjoyable, they're escapism, they're thought provoking, all of those kinds of things. And that is big. But it's not, no single comic, no single topic is enough for me to go to war over. I don't have that feeling with comics. I love them, but easy for me to attach or disengage based on how things go. But I notice that there's about, as I said, about 10% kind of both directions who come in and see if any of these kind of ring true to you. There's the person who believes that comics is absolutely, definitely, for sure dying. It's imploding. The industry is on a life support. It's going to die any minute now. In fact, you were saying it was going to die 3 years ago, and then 2 years ago, 1 year. It's just dying. The industry is trash. It's burning, and everything gets viewed through that lens. Is a comic canceled? It's a sign the industry is dying. Is a company closing? Are they hiring some people and not other people? See, proof, reinforcement that the industry is dying. I noticed this with the Valiant video where I mentioned, this kind of weird oddity that the office was closed. The office is closing, and then the statement was really, really bungled and just weird. And it was yep. See, this is proof. This is yet another reason. This is how Heather Antos is destroying comics. I mean, Heather Antos works for Valiant as an editor. The idea that she would have kind of anything to do with these financial matters, especially at the scale they're talking about, is slightly ridiculous. And you can take that as, by the way, a positive or a negative to Heather Antos. She just does not have that much of an impact. It doesn't. Pro or con, whatever you want to go. And then there's the other 10%. There's the opposite end, which is comics are great, and any criticism, any complaint cannot be true at all. And even weird missteps are not a sign of anything wrong. So again, using the Valiant story, is people who came in and said, the guy may have said something weird and given a very strange statement and confused people but they're doing great. They're doing great. Everything is great. They said they were doing great. Didn't you hear them say that everything was great? They're great. Why are you questioning things? Everything is wonderful. Great. And it's just interesting and I'll be honest, humorous to me to view the world, or to see people who are viewing the world through those lenses, through that very, very binary, everything is awesome, everything is screwed. Because I think by attaching on to that, you give up so much thinking ability, for lack of a better word. I mean, I just don't know how you enjoy this hobby. Either direction. See, the thing is, if you think everything is screwed and the world is going to blow up, and every single step is a reinforcement that the world is broken, then nothing can be fun. I mean, unless you, and I think some people do, take absolute delight in the idea that things are going to blow up. That's no fun. I mean, why? I mean, it's like going to prison every day. You're going into misery every day. It's like you wake up, okay, I want to think about comics, but I believe that they're terrible. So I'm going to look at comic news. I'm going to read tweets from comic people. I'm going to say that this is further proof that they're dead, and I'm going to be miserable about it. Like, why would you do that? It's like, what are you doing? You know, and to be fair, there's also the group that they love their thing. And then you saw this back, I've used this analogy before, but I don't think many people I did a very poor job explaining it. It's kind of in the 80s, you had Marvel fans and DC fans. And the Marvel fans would look at any problem from DC. Everything from a cover was printed wrong, to a page was stapled incorrectly, to the ads are lamer inside the DC comic, whatever it happened to be. All of those things were examples of why DC was about to fold and go under. Everything fit into that narrative, and then vice versa. And I think there is plenty of that. And I think some people who have really kind of grappled on to the crowdfunded books view things through that lens. Everything crowdfunded is amazing, or at least everything crowdfunded on Indiegogo is amazing, and everything that is coming out from Marvel and DC is trash and painful and garbage and everything else. The weird kind of truth to it, though, is that if Marvel turned around and told a lot of the crowdfunding people, hey, here's a livable wage, here's a good salary, we want you to do a book for us, those crowdfunded creators would do it in a heartbeat. If the money was right, yeah, you bet. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. But by the way, the same thing in reverse. There are plenty of people within the big two who are like, those crowdfunded Nazis over there, blah, blah, blah. If they knew they could pull $1 million off of their crowdfunded book, they'd be over there doing it tomorrow. Don't make no mistake about it. Let's just clear up any illusions. I mean, money talks. And so I think that there's definitely some of that. The negativity stems from that, my brand is better than your brand, whatever happens to be. Marvel fan against DC, DC against Marvel, crowdfunding against both, Marvel against crowdfunding, whatever happens to be. It's an approach to promote your stuff over others. When in reality, I mean, they're all comics. I mean, some are definitely better than others, but yeah, I think about it this way, like every source, Marvel, DC, crowdfunding, Image, Boom, Vault, Zenoscope, whatever it happens to be. I don't usually mention Valiant. I don't know why. Valiant, they all have the potential to make crappy comics. Like everybody does. Kickstarter, Indiegogo, you have the ability to make a crappy comic. You have the ability to make a good one too, but it somehow puts it in more perspective if you think crappy. Everybody has the ability to make garbage. It's one of our rights as Americans. Anyway, but I think it is humorous, and again, I want to stress it goes the other way too, and this is why I think it's so funny how people view comics, where if you're viewing everything is awesome, everything is perfect, there are absolutely no problems, whatever. I also don't think you're having much fun, because in your heart of hearts, deep down, you know everything isn't awesome. Comics going on hiatus for several months is not awesome. Creators being told pencils down, editors being paid, $30,000 a year. None of that is awesome. Yeah, there's no way to sugarcoat it. And you can say, no, but it's great anyway. No, it's not. You can say it's a passion project. I'm not doing it for money. You can say that all you want, but deep down, when you're laying in bed at night with the lights off and you're all alone, that sucks. We all know that sucks. And it is funny. This whole process is just very funny. I think what strikes me, though, is that if you go all in on, I believe the industry is great, everything is wonderful, the people who complain about it are wrong and liars and hateful people and awful, or the industry is completely screwed. Anyone who says anything differently is an apologist, there's this guy on Twitter, I remember, who I'd ignore him, and I finally had to mute him. It was funny for a while. He would draw, he was a decent artist, but the guy was nuts. And you would see or he would be a reasonable person in the morning and then crazy in the evening. And I don't know what was going on in his life that was causing that to happen. But by the time you got to evening, if you said anything about a comic, like, I thought this comic was pretty good. Hey, this Alex Ross cover on this Captain America is pretty good. You could say the inside of that comic, every other part of that comic, but the cover, was complete and absolute garbage. The writing was bad, the lettering was bad, the colors were bad, the penciling was bad, the inking was bad. The ads sucked. Everything was terrible. But that cover was a pretty cool Alex Ross painting. That cover, I got to hand him credit. That was a pretty good piece of illustration there. You could say it like that. You could spend 20 pages talking about how absolutely trash this comic was, and then in one sentence put, but the cover was nice. And this guy would come in and goes, ah, look at you sucking up to Marvel, big comic book apologist. Man, you people make me sick. It's like he could hear nothing good, like zero. Like if you made an argument that the comic book was, it could be burned for heat. So if you were dying of cold and you needed some warmth to sustain you, the paper was flammable and could help you survive the night. You could write that. Like all of it's garbage, but you could burn it for warmth. And he would come in like, ah, look at you sucking up to comics. That's it's it's funny. It was funny. And I think that that's kind of how you see it. You could see it the other direction too, by the way. You could go and say, hey, I think that storyline was pretty good. Hey, Empire, oh, better than I expected. The writing was pretty good. And the art, man, art was really nice. A good space opera. That's cool. And characters having big moments. And that's nice. I really didn't like what they did with She-Hulk in the one thing. Like, it didn't seem like she got enough airtime. And you'll get people that will come in and go, ah, you evil bigot hating comics. You just are one of those. And it's like, yeah, you're crazy. You're crazy. Now, granted, I think with videos, a lot of people look at the thumbnail and look at the title. And by the way, for people who are listening, if you're still listening to the video at this point, you haven't tuned out to downvote. I get, I don't know, amused, bored, something with YouTube. So I will like the little tag at the top. I'm playing around with SEO, so you're supposed to add that, and your SEO score goes higher. I don't know how or why, but I got to hand it. Like my subscribers went through the roof over the last week, so I don't know what's going on, but maybe it's working. I don't know, but I've started just putting junk in that little card there in the upper right hand corner where you can click on things. I mean, just for the hell of it, I'm amusing myself. I freely admit it. Um, and so the same thing goes with the thumbnails. I put so many Easter eggs in the thumbnails and the descriptions and everything else. I mean, I'm not taking this seriously. You should know that. But I think a lot of people just view that stuff and then have a reaction. But I guess this is both I'm kind of venting, I'm letting out some steam, and I'm wondering, do you see this too? And like, what do you do with people like this? The people who they're so determined one way or the other. They have to fit everything into that perspective, and two, it's like I've learned I just don't argue anymore. I don't come in and engage. There's no point. Like there's nothing you can say. Like I've done the most amazing gymnastics around trying to say no, that comic was good. This part was good. Here's some 500 other things that I can say positive about it right here. I'm just saying, that 10.99 for a 4-page comic seems excessive to me. That's just me, and it's not enough. It's like nope. You hate comics. You're a bad person. Or the other way. I mean, you could go into like Iron Man 2020. Can't stand that event. It's terrible. Everything else, I think I could say I think Pete Woods is trying his heart out here. It's a shame he's doing the penciling and the inking because I think that takes away from things a little bit. But a guy's trying to do a solid art. He's doing the best of the script he's gotten, so you got to hand him credit for that. It's like no, you Marvel fanboy. Yeah, all right, there's no going in on that. Do you deal with that? What do you do with people like that? Ignore? Is there ever a right answer? Is there like a mystery key argument or discussion point where the person can come around and be reasonable and you can have a good time? Because I like to talk to people. I want to talk to people. I want to have good conversations, but there's just some people. It's not going to happen. just not. It's not in the cards, pal. Anyway, what do you think? Leave a comment below. Hey, like, subscribe, follow me on social media where you can argue with me there. That would be cool. Downvote the hell out of this video. Do that. Downvote and over and over. I talk garbage. What can I say? Hey, thanks for listening.